Welcome to Vahagraphy Talk, episode number 12. In today's episode, we're going to spend some time and talk to Matt Granger. You're a photographer and you've been on YouTube, searched videos, you know Matt Granger. He's been doing this for over a decade and he's been a photographer for longer than that. He's famous for his portrait photography, his fine art nudes, his beautiful models that he has on his videos, his photography tutorials. He's traveled all over the globe and he's pretty much done it all when it comes to photography and a YouTube channel. And I want to also welcome in our co-hosts for this episode, Chris Stewblue and Photo Me Ike. Welcome to Vahagraphy Talk number 12. Special guest, Matt Granger. How you doing, Matt, Ike, Chris?
Pleasure to be here.
Good to be here.
Doing real good.
Awesome. Yeah, man, I've been following you since 2011.
Wow, that must have been right at the start.
Yep.
Did I see that you have like over 2,000 videos on your channel?
I believe you. I'm not sure exactly.
I think I have like 30.
I think it was
that
high, but yeah, it was a bit prolific at the start.
That's impressive.
I've seen you. I mean, you're in Hong Kong right now?
Yep.
Is that where you're based out of right now, or?
Yeah, we moved from New York just on a year ago.
By the way, I checked out your seafood channel.
Oh, thank you. That's badly in need of updating. I've got the content, but I just haven't uploaded.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Well, since this is our first time interacting with you, Matt, I would quickly want to maybe introduce ourselves.
It'll be great.
That's okay. Well, my name's Vahagan. I've been a photographer for 25 years. Just started a YouTube channel. I used to play the drums for a rock and roll band. That's where the rock and roll stuff comes from. And been a photographer, weddings, portraits, concerts. Basically, I thought of how do I combine rock and roll and photography. So that's what I'm doing, and I just started these talks about a few months ago. So that's me.
Right. No, I guess I'll go second. How you doing? My name's Ike, and I shoot weddings, mainly weddings and portraits, some events, some commercial stuff, headshot stuff. And then I've been shooting since 2010, I think 2009, 2010. And then I started YouTube in 2016. So yeah, that's it.
I am not a full-time photographer, but I've been at it since like 2013. And I'm a full-time police officer, actually. So I do this to kind of help de-stress with that. And I'm really mostly into or cinematography than anything, into video more than photography. And I'm a little starstruck because, Matt, you were a huge inspiration to me back in 2013 and actually 2014 to get out and start shooting. You genuinely were a huge inspiration. When Vahagan told me that you were coming on, I freaked out.
No, that's really cool. Thanks,
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm thrilled to pieces to be here with you.
Yeah,
Likewise. Looking forward to it.
We all are. So you had the Z9 for how long now? You gave it back?
Yeah, sadly. So I went in for a half-day briefing. Then I had a day with it, but the Nikon rep had to come with me because it was before the launch. It was something I should say, having seen the other channels' coverage or bits and pieces, it seems the way each country deals with it is totally and completely different. Like Hong Kong didn't get a sample until a week or 10 days before the launch, whereas I think some of the American channels had it like a month before that, which is funny when you think Thailand and Tokyo are just next door for me. But anyway, so then I had another half day in their office to go and film some close-ups and get some other details I needed. And then after the launch, they got it to me for about 8 days.
How was
That's
it?
cool.
Like when you held it in your hands, did it transcend you?
Oh, the angels sang and the birds were tweeting. And I mean, it was cool. I have been a Nikon shooter for, I don't know, 10 years or more. I have to say, like, I'm not, well, if you're not interested in Nikon, then I probably do come across as a total fanboy, but I don't really think of myself as one. I'm not one of those it's just a tool, the camera doesn't matter type people. I do really love my equipment and I enjoy using it, and having something that makes me want to shoot more. I really enjoy it, and I do find it inspiring to go and create more with. I've had cameras in the past that were technically awesome, but I just didn't enjoy shooting with them. So yeah, without sounding too fanboy, when I held it, I did get a little giddy and excited, but mainly just because it's familiar. As compared to the smaller mirrorless cameras, I still prefer the grip of the Nikon to some of the other ones out there. But having something, I don't have giant hands, but I do just find a vertical grip is the most comfortable option. So for that reason, it was exciting. And, it's finally seeing that a lot of the specs were right and a couple of them didn't, the rumors didn't quite capture what it had. It was, no, I've never broken NDA, but it was a little exciting and I wanted to be able to tell somebody, but I couldn't for a week or so, especially at the moment here in Hong Kong. I'm working solo, so it was really, all in my head for that week.
So you weren't the one that was the reliable source that was given, like, hey, check this out. You didn't hear this from me, but 4K 120.
No, I honestly, I don't really get the room. Well, I do as a buyer. I can see why rumor sites exist, but I can't get why people would risk their job or risk their relationships to leak a rumor. I really don't see the value in it. So I've never come close to that. I've had it done to me. That kind of sucked, but I've never, broken an NDA.
I think that and I guess because it's just cameras, it's not like the government's going to come to you. It's not you revealing like trade secrets. So like, oh yeah, Apple's doing this. So, if you tell somebody, oh yeah, the camera's going to have this spec, what's it really gonna, so, but I can see how, like, if I'm somebody who, let's say I get like something really early and I know that this is going to help build buzz for the community, I might be like, hey, between me and you, it might have this many focus points. I'm not saying it does. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying it might. If it comes back to me, our relationship. So it depends on the person, and their integrity. So I guess the leaker and the person who runs the rumors have to have some kind of relationship that's like, look, I trust you. You trust me. We got a nice relationship, because I follow a lot of Apple products, and like those people, he puts his name out there. He's like, yeah, Ming Chinko is just saying. I'm like, who's giving him this information, or if they're paying you? I don't know. So
two things on that. One, I did actually have way back, maybe 6 years ago. I won't name names because I'm still really good friends with the guy, but I did have a situation where I told a friend about a lens that I was testing out, and then like an hour later, actually, I have to give them props, and I won't mention the site either, just in case I don't want to put anyone in it, but an admin of a website wrote to me saying, hey, I just got a rumor that had your name attached to it, that Matt told me this, so it must be true. And it turned out it was my good friend left me, got in the car and wrote to this rumor site using my name to vouch for it. So I would just say, be careful. But I mean, the reason is like the guy at Nikon who's helping me out and getting me access to it and stuff, it's been a big launch for Nikon. There's so many people waiting a long time for it. I'm not going to fuck him by letting out a little bit of rumor because I'm excited. It really could be his ass or him getting passed over for a promotion if the company's really strict about it. And Nikon is really traditional and old school. I'm not going to put someone else in it to, know in myself that, all those rumors are out there because I was the one who leaked it. It's,
Can you talk a little bit about, because there's been a lot of talk about your buffer video, the 1869 video. Can you just talk to us a little bit about that and just set it straight? Because there was a little bit of confusion with the buffer speed.
That's one of the few things that I really hate about this kind of he said, she said type thing when you're reviewing equipment, that unless you get everything when you're testing a piece of equipment and have evidence, because people who watch you and trust you don't need to see it, but people who don't want to believe you need to see exactly what you did, or they're going to say, oh, he obviously just faked it. That can't be true. So when I saw this, going out, so first of all, it just got all conflated from what I understood. It was actually DP Review, and I hadn't seen their one, and I really liked those guys and their channel, so I wouldn't be, calling them out without having written to them to check first. They did some test, and it got 35 shots or something, which they said didn't show, but I personally believe them. But then that got conflated as using the best cards, you can only get that. And I knew that wasn't true because I had done tests. So I just went in, grabbed the video I hadn't made that content to make this video. That was on the day, when I said I went in to get some extra footage, I had an extra half a day to get stuff. I just filmed the back of cameras. I did a few different tests. I didn't have a bunch of different cards. I just had what I had available. So I grabbed that footage and sent it out, and it didn't actually occur to me about what raw format I was recording at the time. But I just thought, well, this was a compressed one, but surely no one's going to believe the difference is between 1800 and 35 if you're using the best card. That's too big of a variance. So yeah, it sucked that I didn't have recorded the lossless version at that time. So, it was just what I had at the time, because, if you've been doing this long enough, whether it's Apple or Nikon, you see the same cycle of misinformation, positive and negative, on every launch. And it's just, well, we're part of the problem in a way. It's YouTubers and the press wanting headlines, wanting clicks. This is great. This is terrible. We don't know this yet. This could be a problem. This could be amazing. Speculation that, is to get attention, but it can kind of put people off. So having that out there from bullshit artists claiming that this is the best it can possibly do, even with the best cards, and then referring back to reputable, reliable reviewers who are using a brand name card, which on paper sounds like it could be the best card out there, it was a believable bullshit, So I did that video, and then I did the follow-up, which I'm still updating, where I'm getting as many different cards as I can and running the same test again and again and again. And I just put out a video about 12 hours ago, which was about comparing the lossless HE star and HE files to show the quality. And if you decide for yourself that HE star is going to do it, then if you shoot that format, and if you do actually get the best cards and no SanDisk aren't them, and a lot of the pro grade ones aren't them, then you can pretty much shoot forever. And the other thing is, for the kind of thing I'm shooting for testing, I was shooting 20 frames a second or 30 or 120 to test it and see what it could do. But for what I am regularly shooting, I'm not going to shoot 20 frames a second all the time just because the camera can do it. It's like thinking when you buy a Ferrari, you're going to always be at 200 miles an hour. It's just not how it works. Having 2 frames a second in focus is great for me. Having 10 or 12 or 20 when I'm shooting a hummingbird, then sure. But even for dancers, I wouldn't be shooting 20, routinely. So if you're shooting 15 frames a second, you can just, shoot 10,000 files if you want.
I know Chris ordered one.
Yep.
And you ordered one too, right? So
yeah, I put I was able to put in I was being funny, but actually I was able to pre-order at my local camera store like weeks before, even before the presentation. Wow. Because it was announced. My camera store was like, we'll start taking pre-orders now. Like you can put a spot line or whatever. And then when it initially, and then I just recently went back and was like, hey, I'm still on, right? She was like, yeah, you're still good. We still got you. I'm like, all right, bet. But they wouldn't tell me, like, I don't know how many people are ahead of me. Right. I don't know any of that. I just know that I requested before that, and so I'm there. So hopefully I'm
nice.
One of the first people to get them as soon as they get in. So
yeah.
I got a viewer named John in Malaysia who put in his pre-order 11 months ago. And apparently he's number 2 at his shop.
Well, lazy him. How did he not get number
1? So I was asking the lady, she was saying that like they have people who like let's say the Canon R1 is rumored. Hey, this is rumored to be coming soon. I want to put in a pre-order, and I want to put the store, because it's its own place, they can just do stuff like that, and if it doesn't pan out, and I could put in a pre-order there, one at B&H, one at Adorama or whatever, and then whichever one I get first. If I cancel, then I can cancel with my store. So it's like that. I don't have to pay until the product gets in.
So did you immediately get into shooting naked ladies, or was that something you evolved into?
Naked people.
Okay.
Well, not immediately, because I started playing with cameras when I was about 5, and I studied darkroom and stuff when I was about 14, but probably around 25. So around when I started working professionally, yeah. So about 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah. Well, you were hugely impressive. You made quite the impression on me. So,
was that your first time seeing a naked lady? It leaves a mark on all of us. Yeah.
Any drama shooting naked women? I mean, from your experience, what do
you mean by drama?
I don't know if drama is the right word. Like, for example, you shoot somebody, right? And then they say, oh, you know what? I don't want you to post these shots, or I changed my mind, or any drama with the talent.
Any allegations, all that stuff?
Well, no, other than other YouTubers or people online just assuming that I'm, slimy because of the fact that I'm doing this kind of work. Yeah, drama, I mean, not more than there would be from, well, actually, I would say far less than if I'm shooting a dancer or something that doesn't want photos shared if they have a weird facial expression or their toes aren't pointed or something. Starting off, I was shooting, everyday people as well as models. Now, if I'm doing anything for a download course or something, it's all experienced professional models who this is what they do. And I won't shoot with someone for anything that's to be public facing unless they've hired me to shoot them. I won't shoot with anyone who hasn't already done a lot of this work, because I don't want the first time that they're fully exposed to be, something so public that it can't be taken back. Once it's on the internet, there's no going back. So it's something you learn over time. That, I mean, if you're looking for that kind of difficult situation stories, it is difficult when you shoot something and then afterwards they say, oh, but don't include my face, or don't include my nipples, or don't include my tattoos, or whatever that wasn't discussed at the beginning, because you would shoot it differently in that regard. I've had a couple of times in the past where I shot, it was mostly implied, but not fully, but they had said anything was fine to be shot. And then at the end, for example, someone with really big breasts who then says they don't want their nipples showing in any photos. Well, you can't just weirdly crop halfway through their chest. It's really easy to pose out or to frame out if you know that at the beginning. But I mean, I did have one shoot this year where the guy was really open and wanted to be a part of a project, but then after shooting said, oh yeah, but I haven't told my partner that I'm doing this kind of thing, so I'd rather not have my face in it. What? I can't just crop your head off, and we didn't do a single shot obscuring your face. I could have easily brought a mask or props that we could have so that you were naturally blurred your face, behind some fabric or whatever. But I have to delete the whole shoot then, because I can never use it. It was just a waste of time. I can't just crop someone's head off.
Yeah, I've had people ask me about that, and they were like, oh, well, do you sign a model release? Or what if the model is take it down, this, that, and the third. And, for me, it's I could fight and be like, well, it's my work, I have legal ability and rights, but it's just not worth the drama for me. It's just you know what? I'm just, all right, fine. You don't like this, you don't want this shown, let's just forget it. It's not worth all that just to be right,
Because it's just negative.
And that negativity and reputation travels. Not that it's always a male photographer and a female model, but if you had gone ahead and used those anyway, then it's easy for that to be later taken out of context, and people don't realize that there was a prior agreement or that there was a written contract or whatever. It's just here's another example of a photographer taking advantage of a model and not respecting their wishes. That's one thing I've learned from not just nude shooting, but any kind, like family shooting or with shooting families with kids, that kind of thing. If you ever have that little pang of, oh, I'm not sure if they're going to be cool with this, don't go with a, so I won't ask, so I avoid the headache. Just ask and make it like triply sure and clear that they're cool with it, because it's not worth the drama after. Whatever you think the attention or the value it might bring of putting that out there, not having someone's full informed consent, it's just not worth it.
If someone's starting out as a photographer and wants to do, fine art nudes, what do you recommend them? How do they find the talent? Is there an agency or?
Yeah, well, just real quick, and we'll get to Vahagen's question. I think some of the easiest going people that I've ever worked with were actually nude models. They just seem to generally just be the coolest to work with. It's more like families and events that are weddings. My God, that's like the worst. Those kind of things those people really get uptight. Whereas like, I think nude models they're usually just good to go and they're go with the flow. So that was just what I wanted to add to that. I had some good luck on modelmayhem.com. I used that to find different models. And I got really lucky. I married a gorgeous young lady that she was my first model and frankly, my favorite model. And that was where I got a lot of experience there when it comes to learning to say the right things, learning to be professional, keeping a distance, and that kind of thing. I learned it really from her. So
Model Mayhem gets a bit of a bad rep because a lot of photographers, a lot of people treat it as more of a dating site than anything else. But I have found if you're professional and you demand professionalism from anyone you're working with, it can be a really good resource. And both times that I've met, all the times that I've met models who went on to be great collaborators with that I've shot with dozens of times, started on there, but they were by chance both kind of new to it and kind of not full-time models at the time. They were just kind of trying it out. So when I first started shooting with Tina way back in the day, I think she had joined the site the day prior as she'd been on there as a makeup artist, and then she listed herself as a model as well. And I think I was the second shoot she'd ever done. And then we shot together for like 5 years.
How do you distinguish a paid model from a collab? Because sometimes I get, I don't know, I see a model I want to shoot and they're, do you pay them? Do you collab with them? A beginner photographer, how should they approach that?
I would want to value everybody's time. So it's not that, once you get busier or have a higher income, that your time is necessarily more important than someone else's. So the kind of the guideline that I go by is there needs to be some exchange of value that should be equitable. If you're a new photographer and you're shooting with an inexperienced model, then it's reasonable to be a collab potentially. If you're a hugely successful photographer and you're shooting with a fantastic, really professional and experienced model, then that could also be a collab. But you do also have to think about, okay, so here's a model with 10 years modeling experience who's been published a bunch, and I have an audience and da-da-da-da-da. So, don't want to really talk about it in this way, but let's say we're on a similar kind of level so we can collab. But then at the end of that, they're getting photos and you're getting all rights to the photos and potentially selling products from it. That's not a fair outcome and balance. There are times where shooting with somebody as either the model or the photographer, that it's a dirty word, but there are times where exposure does actually have value. So if I were offered to shoot for Vogue with some supermodel, I might actually expect less pay for that than I would to shoot for an airplane magazine, because there is some value to me and of the exposure of that. But generally, I think if a model's giving up half their day and bringing wardrobe and doing their hair and makeup themselves and traveling to the shoot, they deserve to be compensated. If nothing else, there's real costs involved in coming to a shoot, buying all of the makeup and stuff. If I'm going to make money off it, then I think that's only fair that they do too.
Yeah, because some of these guys in LA, that I know, they have this attitude where, well, you know who you're shooting with, you know what kind of photographer I am. How dare you ask for money?
That's terrible.
If I approach a model saying, hey, do you want to shoot sometime? Then I think they have the advantage and could reasonably expect some kind of payment. Especially, people are taking time off their part-time job or whatever. If they're in a position where all they're looking for is images, then that's fine. But I do think as you grow as a photographer and are more financially secure, if I'm making money from it, they should have the opportunity to make money from it.
I have a question for you, Matt. In
Sure.
2020, you sold all your Nikon gear to KEH,
Yeah.
right? What did you do after that?
So I think I need to make a follow-up on this. I didn't, at the time, I got a bunch of, well, that's it. I'm unsubscribing from the channel comments, which I thought were just hot air. But now I'm getting a bunch of comments on my Z9 videos saying, I haven't watched your channel since then. I'm like, oh shit, they actually meant it. So maybe I do need to clear up the what and why. Although I said it in the video, it's you have to be careful. I need to be more careful when you choose the title and the image for your video to make it appealing for people to watch, trying to make it honest and relevant, but also extra enticing. Sometimes that leaves an impression more than actually what you said in the video. So in that video, and I'm not meaning to point at you, Vahagan, but I assume you've seen it, but in it, I do say it was time for me to upgrade my D850s. I'm not traveling. I'm not working. It's the middle of, it's after 1 year into the pandemic right now. I guess that there's going to be high-level mirrorless from Nikon coming out at some point. And when that happens, the DSLR camera value is going to drop. So seeing they're not being used, now's a good time for me to sell it on. KEH also sponsors of the video. And then I said in the video, and it was the truth. I then took the next few months. I was in a lucky position, especially in New York, to be able to loan basically anything. I could ask B&H to loan something and it would arrive the next day, which is such a fortunate situation. But so I tested all the different options on the market. And a couple of months later, I bought into the Z mirrorless range. So, some people got the impression that mean I abandoned Nikon for good or something. But, whilst I say that I do love my gear and it's not just a tool, it's also just a machine. So, if I really, it's not like breaking up with a partner or something like that. It's not a betrayal to the company if you do change brands. I have a lot of friends who've gone from Nikon to whatever, and I don't care as long as they're enjoying what they're doing and shooting. So I do now have a Z7, a Z6, and an A7S III, which I have for the 4K 120, basically. I sold one of my Z7 IIs like a week or two ago, leading up to the Z9. So yeah, that's the why. So at the time I sold it, and this kind of loops back to the recent videos I'm doing on the Z9. I only kept my 200 f2 because that was a lens that I don't see coming to Z anytime too soon. And I didn't think it would really drop a lot in value, even if something killer, I didn't foresee the Z9, but even if something killer did come out. But then other ones like the 105, and I had like 30 lenses, I think, that I sold. I didn't anticipate that they would ever bring out an adapter that would actually make them good enough to use on mirrorless. So in a way, I fucked up because they have, and now I'm rebuying the 105 and a couple of other lenses that I sold.
Mm-hmm.
For outdoor portraits, do you prefer an 85 millimeter focal length or a 105?
Depends on the scene. I like both of them. I really like the look of the 105, but I don't really, I don't know. I don't think I've ever made a list of you need to use this lens for this kind of a shoot. It really depends on the scene. If it's a big open park, then you can use whatever you want, but often it's dictated by how much space you've got to shoot with. At the moment, in Z, they don't have a 105 at the moment, except for the new macro. So I have the 85 and the 70 to 200, which is a probably, if I had to choose one for outdoor portraits, I'd just say the 70 to 200.
That one's going to be good. I just pulled the trigger on the 105 macro, but it's going to be, I'll probably get a Z9 before I get that 105.
They are back ordered as well, are they?
Yeah.
What, the 105?
The 105 macro. I ordered it, I think yesterday on Amazon, and I think Amazon estimates it'll be to me in January. So
Dang, I was on the fence about that. I shot a wedding actually just Sunday, and I was like using my 24 to 70, zoomed out to 70, trying to get like something of the rings. I was like, man, I should just get a macro. I have the old 105D macro, which I manual focus in my studio. So I was like, oh, I can just manual focus when I need to. But like I find situations where, man, it'd be nice to have a macro lens for details at my weddings. So I might have to turn around and pull the trigger, but I might get the old macro and just adapt it, because the times I do use macro, it's rare that I would need like super performance on a macro lens. Like,
yeah, exactly. It'd be interesting to see the old one. I think is trading a fair bit cheaper, so it could be an option. And even they had a couple of other F-mount non-D lens macros and they've got the 50 that I think is in stock for Z-mount as well. But you probably want something a bit longer for rings.
Yeah, I don't shoot very much macro photography.
Right.
And so like I think I got snobs where I didn't want to, it wasn't for me the performance of the adapter. I felt like the lenses performed great with the adapter. I just didn't want to have to adapt lenses. So I just went all native with all my lenses. And in the future, I'm like, I only want to do native, but for the 105 macro, I'd make an exception to adapt. But otherwise, I just, I went to one shoot, forgot the adapter, only had one native lens, I had to do the shoot with that one lens. And I was like, you know what? I'm getting on native lenses. I'm not doing adapting anymore. So
it kind of depends with if people already own them or not. If they're in your situation, whether it's time to buy one, or like me, they sold too early, or, there's a lot of guys out there who've never switched yet. And for them, it probably, although it might seem wasteful, makes financial sense to buy 6 adapters and just leave them on your favorite lenses rather than rebuying the lenses.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the lens, it's interesting. I had the 17 to 35 on loan, and I didn't realize that the 17 to 35 worked on the adapter. I thought because it had the aperture ring on there that it automatically wouldn't work. So I never use it on my Z6. I always use it on my D750. And then one day, I think I had it on there because I was going to see if I could manual focus, and I just ended up using and I was like, oh, snap, it autofocuses. And so I was like, what the heck? I didn't know that because it's an AFS lens, but I contributed an aperture ring.
The G lenses.
Yeah, and it had an aperture ring. So I was like, oh, it's an aperture ring. This must be like an old school like screw drive. I didn't even look into to see the fact that it actually could work. And so when I realized it worked on my Z6, I was like, what? This lens works, but it's an old lens. It's not very sharp. Like the corners are kind of like not very good. And so, but I could see that if somebody had a 17 to 35, like keep that one because, it's even if you like that 14 to 24, the 17 to 35 is a much more useful focal length for all around, in my opinion. Like in this new world, like you have areas where people are content creators and they do photography, but they're doing it for content, right? And so whereas like being hired to do headshots for a company or take pictures for a certain like, couple or family, things like that. And so I always find it interesting. For me being in YouTube, I always compare myself to people who are either content creators or professionals, and like their opinions and how they see gear come from a content creation aspect as opposed to me being somebody in the field as a professional.
I don't know. One thing, as I'm kind of, maybe it's just a product of getting a bit older, I try not to judge what other people are doing just because it's so varied. It's like, I'm not saying this is what you're saying. I'm just saying this is kind of my take on it. That there isn't just like a type of content creator, because there's a million people who are just taking photos of lattes and vapid selfies in front of city lights, who it's just for themselves, whether you want to call it vanity or it's to try and get some free gifts from sponsors, whatever. There's that. And then there's people who, I won't name anyone, but there's people who do it in such a professional way at such a level that I couldn't do that, who are probably making 7 figures and you can call it content creation, but actually this is only a positive one. So a good friend of mine who was on the channel before, Tina Yong, you could see her now. She was a professional makeup artist. Now she's got a few million YouTube subscribers, and she works with L'Oreal and all these brands. And I think she's been in Mac commercials and all this stuff. So it's the same thing that you could say, well, she's no longer a beauty therapist. She's no longer in the field doing nails and stuff. She's now an influencer or a content creator or whatever. But so I'm abstracting it to be not in photography because I don't want to seem adversarial with what you were saying, but this does apply, I think, directly to photography as well. She's playing a different game. So she had opportunities that most makeup artists don't have. She worked hard to get to that position. And now I think it's kind of ignorant to think, okay, so she's working with L'Oreal. She's not out there in the field anymore. She has a different client, but she's doing what she does at the top of her game. She's still doing makeup. She's still satisfying a client. It's just now her client isn't Betty, her next door neighbor, paying her $100 for prom makeup. It's L'Oreal paying 20 grand for her to do it on a runway model so that they can run a campaign off it. As I've been doing it longer, I realized I was shooting weddings and portraits the most. So in the back of my head, I still think of myself as a photographer. I can see why people would think of me as a content creator now. But when I work with a brand or something, still what they're looking for me to deliver, sometimes it's just access to my audience. Sometimes it's like Manfrotto's launching new tripods and they want shots of them in the field. Satisfying that client is dealing with bureaucracy is as bad as your worst bridezilla that I had experienced. The demands and the expectations when it's a big company and a big budget, it's not a smaller or easier game. It's just a different kind of client and a different kind of game. So I don't know if that really answers your question. Let me answer it really directly. I think of myself as a photographer, but the amount of time that I'm dealing with traditional clients who Ike hires me to shoot his daughter's christening is 6 times a year instead of twice a week now. My long-term plan when I started all of this was to be able to travel where I want to go, run tours, have those kind of experiences and have the freedom to do it based anywhere in the world. And you can't run a wedding photography business unless that's your thing. You do destination weddings. Generally, to run a traditional kind of photography business, you need to have, a local network. I don't know in 2021 what a professional photographer looks like anymore, because there's not that many people who are just booking clients and doing it in that traditional sense. Because at the top of once you get to the top of your game, not saying that I am, but let's say Rocco Ancora, wedding photographer, once you get to that level, brands are going to come knocking at your door. And whether, like me, the word influencer makes your asshole clench up in discomfort, you become one because you have an audience and people respect your work. And if Nikon wants you to be an ambassador and this company wants to pay you to use their lights, then why the hell wouldn't you? You got a family to feed. So why am I busting my ass shooting 50 weddings a year when I could shoot 30 and then do 10 talks? That's a better lifestyle. Does it make you less of a professional photographer, or kind of you've just reached a level where you have the option to do different things?
I just want to say that I've seen your stuff. You've been everywhere, man, all over the globe. You've done a lot of shoots, different types of shoots. It's not just one thing. It's like crazy what you've done, who you've met, who you've talked to. Just the other day, I was watching your Leica video, sitting down with the Leica guy there. He was showing you his SL cameras. And you have good relationships all around. I think you're just a fun, mellow kind of guy. No drama with you, right?
Oh, ask my wife. I don't know about that. But I mean, that's something, again, it's not that one's better or higher or lower. Dealing with different kinds of people and the way you need to be with them, the kind of things you need to deliver. You might think that, so now I've got a big gig with Atomos, and they want me to promote this thing. This is going to be great. They're just letting me do whatever I want. They're going to hand me a bucket full of cash. This is going to be awesome. It's actually not that easy. And the amount of no's you get and rejection and delays and changes in firmware that mean that everything you filmed in the last week are no longer able to be used. It's, I'm just making this all up. I haven't worked with Atomos. It was just on my desk. But, that kind of thing, I did film some stuff on the Z9. That's why I had to go back in office, because the firmware changed between the week I shot the dancer and the next week. And there were different video options available, whatever. So Nikon didn't insist, but I'm like, well, I don't want to put out a video showing people that it only has this when actually it has this. So you have to redo it. It's just a different skill set. So if this all ended and I needed to go straight back to shooting weddings and portraits, I think technically I have the skills still. I may have to kind of adjust my temperament and the way I am with people to go back into shooting weddings, although I have shot some recently. It'll be an adjustment. But
if you were to not shoot for clients anymore, is YouTube enough income?
No. I mean, well, maybe if I moved to Laos and lived in a hut with 3G, maybe, but for my current lifestyle, not on AdSense.
Come to Utah.
I've never
Come to Utah.
I've never kind of I've not been to Utah, I don't think, but I know friends who've been kicked out of there. Is that only one city that's quite Mormon-y, or is it the whole state?
No, there's quite a few.
There's no coffee in Utah, bro. You don't want to be in Utah.
What? I think I still have the pay slip from my first AdSense, which was a cent or 3 cents or something like that. But I've never made YouTube with increasing AdSense as being kind of the goal. It was always to then, and maybe that's unique for YouTubers, I'm not sure, but I don't really want to, like I've never done a Patreon or something like that, which no shade on those who do, but I kind of feel like I'm making a good living doing my tours, my education, working with brands, working with clients, and I need an audience to do a lot of that stuff. So giving free content on YouTube, I don't need to nickel and dime people to get an extra $1 or $2 here and there on that stuff. I'm quite happy with the balance of this is all free. If you're loving it and you want more, then you can buy a download course, but I'm not going to ask you to give me $5 a week to get to see my videos a couple of days early or anything like that.
So you'd say that, like, being that you don't depend on YouTube for your income or anything like that, it's probably whatever on the side, but being on YouTube and building an audience on YouTube has helped you like pivot into these other areas?
I wouldn't say that I don't depend on it. I don't depend on the AdSense money, but if I got canceled and my audience disappeared, then a lot of my other income streams would start to dry up as well. So I do rely on it for that sense. It's not just that I rely on it, I value it. So I do want to take care of and respect people who are watching my videos and give them the content they want, partly because they're supporting me and it's the right thing to do, but partly because I do need them.
So, with you having your following, a huge following, and then you being approached by Canon and Nikon, like, did you have to pitch to get into those graces of Canon, or did they just say, hey, or did they just reach out to you? Like, how did that work? Like, how did you end up as being one of the go-tos for these, types of gear and launches and things like that?
So Canon have never approached me and don't return my emails ever. I've never been to a Canon launch. I've never gotten loaner equipment from Canon. I met the head of Canon marketing at an event in New York one time, and we exchanged cards and it all seemed pleasant. But then I think I got one email reply and then that dried up again. Same Sigma, when I'm on a booth, they're great, but I've never been able to get loaner equipment from them. Sony are really aggressive in their marketing, and the contact people are really, aggressive in the sense of proactive, not as in like harassing or anything. and the people that you're dealing with are really, really friendly. Nikon, I've had some contact, but it's kind of gone up and down throughout my time. My channel got a big leg up early on, undeservedly, because I met a guy, John, who I'm still in touch with, who, I don't know how long, maybe 15 years ago, was MD of Nikon Australia, before they had their own office there. They were distributed by another company, and he was the CEO of that company. And he came to judge my local camera club's competition, and I won the annual prize and got to meet him through that. So maybe knowing him helped get me into Nikon. But
that's cool. I get a second part, or
I do, but my kids yelling in the background. I don't know if you can hear it. Can you hear it?
I thought they were my kids.
It's like, I don't want to ask my question with her screaming right here. I'm like, so walk away.
Your best Barry White,
right? Yeah. Okay, so in the marketing part, we talk about like with Nikon reaching out and Canon reaching out. What is your opinion on Nikon and like their relationship to influencers? So like Sony, how you talked about, is really aggressive in how they talk to people and how they market, whereas like Nikon can be real conservative. And when I was looking at the press for the Nikon, like on the American side, I didn't see too many like smaller people who got access to it. But like when I looked at Nikon and press like in Asia and China, and maybe it's just my ignorance and I'm not sure about like who's the who, but it seemed like in other countries, a lot more people who were less known had access to the camera and were able to make content, and it just seems like the relationship with, say, Nikon Australia or Nikon Canada is much more like, I guess, freer or looser, or there's just it's a better connection in other countries than it is with Nikon USA. And a lot
Australia.
of us, yeah, and I'm seeing so many I don't know the language, whether it's Japanese or Cantonese in China, it's a whole lot of content where just seemingly regular people having access to the Z9 and be able to make videos, which such, and to me, it's like, this is a big deal. I'm like, this guy's just some regular guy taking pictures on the street. When Sony sent you that page-long email, I'm like, I couldn't imagine Nikon doing that. Right. But with Sony's marketing blitz and the way they're able to like reach out and connect with so many people who are just normal, everyday content creators, it helped them so much. And I'm just, long story short, like, what's your opinion on Nikon's marketing, and do you think they need to do better and reach out more to people?
There's a lot of parts to that, and I have to say, not being part of Nikon, it's kind of what I experience comes down to who my contact person is, you know? So, and what they're allowed to tell me or what they get told. And, you know, I often get frustrated that, like, I have a video coming probably tonight about a spec that I thought is mind-blowing about the Z9 that I don't think anyone discussed so far, that I don't think Nikon has mentioned. And I only found out because I asked the question. But then it's like, well, I don't think they even gave my contact guy a full spec sheet on the camera yet. So the way that they're drip feeding information to not have it leaked is, it all comes down to him. And I think that kind of informs how I can answer your whole question. I really think it has a lot to do with who their marketing company is. And this actually ties back in nicely to what I was saying about you're just playing in different games if you're dealing, not different levels, but different games. If you're dealing with wedding couples versus companies, knowing who the gatekeepers are and having good relationships with them.
Well, Matt, I've got 6 rapid fire questions for you just for fun, just to kind of bring things to a little bit of a close. But before I get into it, though, I just want to say what a huge pleasure it is to meet you. You have been such an inspiration. So I really am just chudded to meet you. It's a thrill.
Yes, same here.
That's lovely. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's cool that somebody who's, you know, a big, regardless of how you look at yourself, we as regular YouTubers look at you as like one of the YouTube gods in the photography. Like, you're one of the big fish, the whales, as Vahagraphy would call it. So to see somebody like yourself or Jared Poland come down to speak with us, you know, little people, it's amazing because we get to see a different side of you and get to just talk to you on a more like, you know, man to man or person to person, you know, be politically correct. A
I
person to
identify as a
person.
man. That's cool.
Matt, do you hang out?
What do you mean by hang out?
Go and get
Probably
a beer
not
or
if I don't
something?
understand the term.
No, I mean,
What do you mean, do
like,
I hang out?
like, go grab a dinner
Yeah,
or
I
something.
mean, I do leave this room fairly often, and I eat. So yeah, sure.
I don't have time to hang out.
When people, I get it, like
when-
a real celebrity, why people might think that, but just think of yourselves. If in another couple of years, if you're the biggest channel out there, do you think you're suddenly going to become some lofty asshole who won't talk to people? I doubt it, right? You're still going to be you. So I find it funny when people seem surprised that I'm just a normal person, because you know, having a few more subscribers doesn't change who you are. So thank you for your kind words, Chris. What are your questions? I'm ready to be grilled.
All right. Question the first: Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
All right.
Good answer. Good answer. Question number 2.
Okay. Easing me in. The next one's going to be on the Israel-Palestine.
Oh,
conflict
we're going
or
off the
something.
rails here. F mount or Z mount?
I would go Z. Other than the 200 f2, I think the lenses are all optically better on the Z mount.
Yeah. All right. Z mount. Favorite Bond girl?
Oh, was Sophia Loren one?
I. We'll have to check.
If
with
not,
the
she
judges.
should have been. Yeah, I'll go
You know,
her.
I gotta say, I hate to be such like a newbie at this, but Ava Green was my favorite Bond girl. Like, what was that, 10, 15 years ago? God, she was gorgeous. She broke my heart. She was.
For innuendo, I'll go with Pussy Galore.
Yes, Goldfinger. Nikon D850 or Z7 II?
Well, I have a Z7 II and I sold my D850. So in a way that tells you something.
Yeah.
But I mean, well, for the romantic place in my heart, I'd still go the D850. That
Yeah, me
thing,
too.
I had a couple of them that traveled the whole world with me. But for what I would shoot with today, it is the Z7 II.
Favorite drug?
Oh. And this is like one of those, I can interpret it however I want, but
You
I
can
probably
interpret
shouldn't
it
say
however you
heroin
want.
type questions. Okay. Caffeine?
All right.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
You know, I got to tell you, my favorite drug is Imodium AD. Just a world where you don't have to poop is an amazing world to me. Here we go.
That was-
Final question. What is your favorite swear?
So, Vahagraphy, swearing on this channel is fine then.
Go
I've
for
been
it.
trying to control myself. Okay. Well, there's one that, this is the kind of one that gets you canceled though.
Does it start with a C?
Yeah. Well, just because it's the only one I know that still has any like shock value.
Gun's hot. I
Let's
like your
leave it
style.
at
I
that
like where
then.
your head's at. I'm
Okay.
a
There you go.
traditionalist. I'm a kind of a goddamn kind of guy. You know, I probably say that more in a
Well,
day than I say anything else.
In Utah, that's probably worse than the C
Oh,
word,
yes.
right?
Yes, that has some shock value here.
Is there anything you want to tell people about you that people don't know from YouTube?
You know, having done this for 12 years, when I get asked a question like that, I kind of think, what do people think I'm going to like drop some big revelation that I've been hiding and break down into tears or something like that? Having done this for 12 years, if somebody's watched everything, they know everything that I'm happy to share about myself. But I guess I can think something that maybe people seem to have missed that I've shared. So yes, I'm married and have been for 12 years. I don't consider myself as having ever broken up with Nikon, even though I sold my DSLRs last year. I didn't go off and have some dirty affair with Pentax or anything like that. No, I've never been married or romantically involved with Tina or Steph or any of my models. People like to assume that real life is like a Dear Playboy letter where, you know, the fact that you have proximity or friendships with good-looking girls means that you're unable to control yourself as we do in any other workplace in the world. Oh, I quit drinking 6 months ago. I don't know if a lot of my YouTube channel know about that.
Oh, why is that?
Man. What a struggle.
Congratulations, but why is that?
I think I kind of already had my allocation for this lifetime by the time I turned 40, so that was enough.
What was your drink of choice back in the day? 6 months ago.
Mostly wine. Wine, beer. Oh, kind of. I wasn't that choosy. Wine, beer, spirits.
All right. Are you a big gambling guy? You like gambling or poker?
Not interested.
Casino?
Oh, I mean, I'll play poker. I'll do anything with friends, and it used to be with friends and a drink. But like I'll play poker, but not like going to try and I'm not going to mortgage my house or something. In the same way that I don't really enjoy roller coasters and stuff, that thrill of potentially winning or losing doesn't really do much for me.
Are you a financial kind of guy, like stocks, crypto? You follow that stuff?
Not so much into crypto. Well, not at all into crypto. But yeah, my first degree was in economics, so I have a bit of a background in that field. I do some investments, yeah.
Nice. And I'm very curious. Do you have any relationships with these other big YouTubers, photography YouTubers? Friendship?
Well, I mean, we've met most of them on the different events, mostly Sony ones where everyone gets invited. Yeah, is there anyone in particular? I mean, I probably met all of them. Did you I keep in touch with Tony and Chelsea, mostly Chelsea, fairly often.
Who's a better photographer, Tony or Chelsea?
I haven't actually really seen much of their work. I don't know. I don't think I've watched an entire YouTube video, even my own, after it's edited, for 5 years. So I don't know. Who do you think's better, Tony or Chelsea?
Chelsea.
I like Chelsea.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen her work. But I like Chelsea.
Oh, okay. So not based on their photography. So same answer as mine.
I'm just kidding, man.
Except that the only thing Tony's really fun. He comes across as super dry, but in person he's a good hang as well. Chelsea's hilarious. So
no, I think they're cool. I mean, I love to have them on. Right? What are you making that face? Like,
no comment.
Oh, I have one thing. If you weren't introduced to photography, what would you be doing right now? What do you think you'd be doing?
It's funny I think as you in any career or as you get older, you start to look back and think about what were the turning points or the key moments that led you to get where you are. So you can think about what could be the moments to get me where I want to go to. So it's kind of only in the past 5 years I'm realizing. So I run my own business and I travel and I teach, and that those three things kind of are what my parents were all about as well. So I studied economics, I studied films. I'd probably be doing something to do with writing or event production or something to do with making video content. But I think it would have eventually come down to travel as well. So maybe running tours without the photography aspect, or if I had never left my my previous job, I was on track. I would probably be a director at a government agency looking after roads in my home state. Would you still be drumming, or did you blow out a shoulder or something?
No, I just I was in a band in high school, and then we did the club circuit, and then I had to pay the bills. So
story of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So so that's how
world has a way of crushing you down,
Yeah, I mean, you get lucky with that, because we're pretty damn good. But I mean, it's like winning the lottery with making it in music, especially now. If you're good, it doesn't mean anything. You don't make shit unless you're touring. Even if you're good and something happens now, the newer acts, they don't really make anything. It's the older acts that can draw thousands of people, like the 80s and 90s, 70s, those bands that reunite, they make money because they have the name. the streaming revenue. You know, so I feel bad for musicians.
It's funny, actually, the music from like 98 to 2001, when I was 18 to 21, when you'd go to a club, it's still what's getting played. Those guys must be just sitting back on royalty checks. Even what's his name? R. Kelly, now in his jumpsuit, he must be still making millions of dollars off, after party. Every time you go to a club, it's still the same songs. LL Cool J's there. And
That's what I'm saying. I mean, if somebody asked me about some new band right now, I wouldn't know their names. I still play though. I still play for myself. I mean, for fun. Which, yeah. All right, everybody. Well, thank you guys. Matt, thanks for your time. Thank you for this talk. Ike and Chris, always a pleasure, fellas.
Same here.
And rock and
Thank
roll.
you, comrades.
have a good evening.
Peace out, man.
Thank you.
Same.
Rock and roll, Matt.
Ciao.
Everybody.